Have you ever wondered what would happen if a nuclear war broke out today? This isn't a question we ask lightly. The stakes are astronomical, cities reduced to rubble, millions of lives extinguished in an instant, and our planet subjected to irreversible environmental harm. But to comprehend the gravity of such a scenario, it's essential that we explore the unthinkable. The question isn't just about the devastation but about our survival, our resilience. Today we delve into the US plan in the event of such a catastrophe. The roots of US nuclear strategy can be traced back to the Cold War. This was a time when the world was divided into two major blocks, each with a different ideology and each with a deadly arsenal of nuclear weapons. The United States and the Soviet Union stood toe-to-toe, locked in a tense and dangerous standoff that lasted for decades. The US nuclear strategy was born out of this intense rivalry. It was a strategy designed not for outright victory, but for deterrence. The logic was simple. If both sides knew that a nuclear war would result in mutual destruction, then neither side would dare to initiate such a conflict. This doctrine, known as Mutual Assured Destruction or MAD, was the cornerstone of US nuclear strategy during the Cold War. But times have changed, and so has the US nuclear strategy. The Cold War ended, the Soviet Union collapsed, and new threats emerged. Now the United States has to contend with multiple potential adversaries, each with their own nuclear capabilities and their own unique strategies. In response, the US has had to adapt its own strategy, moving away from the simplicity of MAD and towards a more flexible approach. This approach includes elements of deterrence but also incorporates missile defense and the potential for preemptive strikes. The US plan has certainly evolved, but the goal remains the same: deterrence. It's a reminder that while the players in the game may change, the stakes remain as high as ever. At the heart of US nuclear strategy is the principle of deterrence. This principle is the cornerstone of maintaining peace in a nuclear-armed world. But what exactly does deterrence mean in this context? Let's delve into it. In the simplest terms, deterrence is the use of threats by one party to convince another party not to initiate some course of action. In the context of nuclear strategy, it's the threat of massive retaliation that discourages other nations from launching a nuclear attack against the United States. It's a high-stakes game of, if you hit me, I'll hit you back harder. Now you might be thinking, isn't this a bit harsh or even risky? Well, the goal here isn't to promote violence, but rather to prevent it. The idea is that the potential cost of a nuclear war is so devastating that no rational actor would willingly initiate it. By maintaining a powerful nuclear arsenal, the US hopes to deter any potential adversaries from even considering a nuclear strike. It's this chilling prospect of mutually assured destruction that keeps the nuclear peace. However, deterrence isn't just about having a lot of nuclear weapons. It's also about credibility. The US must not only possess the capability to retaliate, but also demonstrate the willingness to do so if necessary. This is achieved through a variety of means, such as military exercises, strategic communications, and even the deployment of nuclear-capable forces. The US also employs a policy of extended deterrence. This means that it not only deters attacks on its own soil but also on its allies. By extending its nuclear umbrella over its allies, the US further discourages nuclear proliferation and contributes to global stability. It's important to remember that the goal of deterrence is peace, not war. By convincing potential adversaries that the costs of a nuclear attack vastly outweigh any possible benefits, the US aims to prevent the unthinkable from happening. Deterrence is crucial, but what happens if it fails? That's a question we'll explore in the next part of our journey. Stay tuned. In case of nuclear war, the US has a continuity of government plan. This plan is a set of procedures and facilities established to ensure the survival of the United States government in the face of catastrophic events. At the heart of the continuity of government plan is the President of the United States. As the Commander-in-Chief, the President holds the power to authorize the use of nuclear weapons. But what happens if the President is incapacitated or worse? Out of the picture, the plan has got that covered. The Presidential Succession Act establishes a line of succession to ensure there's always someone to take the helm. The Vice President is first in line, followed by the Speaker of the House, and then the President pro tempore of the Senate. It goes on to include members of the Cabinet, starting with the Secretary of State. But the continuity of government plan goes beyond just ensuring leadership. It also involves the relocation of key government officials to secure locations. The United States has multiple undisclosed locations, often referred to as bunkers, where these officials can continue to operate and work towards the country's recovery. One such place is the Raven Rock Mountain Complex in Pennsylvania, known as the Underground Pentagon. These facilities are equipped with everything needed to run the government, from communication systems to living quarters. They are designed to withstand nuclear blasts and are stocked with enough resources to sustain the relocated officials for months. While the continuity of government plan might seem like a doomsday scenario, it's important to remember that its primary purpose is to maintain order and stability. It is a testament to the lengths the United States is willing to go to protect its democratic institutions and its people. However, the question remains, this plan ensures the functioning of the government, but what about the citizens? As we delve further into the intricacies of this plan, we'll explore the measures in place for the protection and survival of the general population in the face of a nuclear event. Stay tuned. Protecting American citizens is a crucial component of the U.S. plan. Now let's explore the civil protection measures in place to safeguard the populace in the event of a nuclear world war. At the forefront of these measures are early warning systems. These are designed to detect a potential nuclear attack in its earliest stages, giving people as much time as possible to reach safety. This is a complex network of satellites, radars, and ground-based monitoring stations. These systems can detect the launch of a missile, pinpoint its trajectory, and estimate its point of impact. Shelter is another key aspect of civil protection measures. Fallout shelters, for instance, are structures designed to protect occupants from radioactive fallout after a nuclear explosion. They are built to absorb the shock of a nuclear blast and shield people from harmful radiation. These shelters can be found in various forms, from underground bunkers to specially designed rooms within buildings. In addition to shelters, there's a plan in place to distribute potassium iodide tablets. If taken shortly before or after exposure to radiation, these tablets can help protect the thyroid gland from absorbing radioactive iodine. This small measure can make a significant difference in reducing the risk of thyroid cancer following a nuclear event. Emergency services also play a vital role in civil protection. These include medical personnel, firefighters, and law enforcement officers. These brave individuals would be on the front lines providing aid and coordinating evacuation efforts. To support these services, there's a comprehensive plan for maintaining communication networks. In times of crisis, clear and reliable communication is essential. This involves ensuring that emergency broadcasts can reach as many people as possible, and that first responders can coordinate their efforts effectively. In the face of such an unthinkable event, these civil protection measures may seem small, but they are designed with one critical goal in mind: to minimize casualties and ensure survival. Civil protection measures are designed to minimize casualties and ensure survival, because in the end, the value of a plan lies in its ability to protect and preserve life. Scene script. Surviving the initial blast is only the first step. In the chilling aftermath of a nuclear war, the landscape would be unrecognizable. Entire cities could be reduced to rubble, and the survivors would face an uphill battle against a slew of daunting challenges. Let's delve into what this might look like. Rescue operations would spring into action immediately, working tirelessly to locate and aid survivors. This would be a monumental task, as the infrastructure we so often take for granted would be decimated. Communication systems could be down, roads could be impassable, and vital resources like water and electricity could be scarce. Medical care would also be a critical concern. The survivors would not only be dealing with physical injuries but also the unseen but deadly effects of radiation. Hospitals, if they're still standing, would be overwhelmed. Doctors and nurses would be in short supply, and the necessary medical equipment might not be available. The healthcare system as we know it would be stretched to its limits and beyond. And then, there's the long road to rebuilding. It's not just about reconstructing buildings and infrastructure, but also about restoring entire communities. It's about re-establishing governance, law and order, and social services. It's about rehabilitating the economy and giving people the means to get back on their feet. But the effects of a nuclear war would reach far beyond the immediate aftermath. The environment would suffer significant long-term impacts. A nuclear winter could plunge the world into a prolonged period of cold and darkness, disrupting ecosystems and threatening food production. The health effects of radiation exposure could persist for generations, causing a spike in cancers and other diseases. Yet, despite the grim picture we've painted, it's important to remember that the U.S. has a comprehensive plan in place for a nuclear war. From deterrence strategies to continuity of government plans to civil protection measures, every possible scenario has been considered and prepared for. But let's not lose sight of the ultimate goal here. The real objective is to ensure that these plans are never needed, that nuclear weapons are never used. Instead, the focus should be on maintaining peace, promoting diplomacy, and working towards a world where the threat of nuclear war is a thing of the past. The US plan for a nuclear war is comprehensive, but the goal is to never have to use it.